Guinevere finished the last of her mouldy bread, stroking the fur on her new friend. The little black kitten watched her eat, his eyes aglow. She wasn't doing so well. Life was hard out here in the city, and without any help, she was slowly beginning to deteriorate. Basso hadn't supplied her with any work, save the coin he had given her to draw out the maps, and that was almost gone. Her last hope was placed in the contact she had recently made. Helena. She was a woman not much older than Guinevere, at 24. But she had agreed to do business with the young woman, oddly enough after discovering that she was a Simmons. Guinevere was unsure quite why this was. Most of the people she had met in the bowels of the city had spat at her at the very mention of her previous life. But Helena seemed exceptionally understanding, as well as very friendly. Unfortunately, she didn't have any work for her at the moment either. Guinevere knew that she had to find a means of funding, and fast. She didn't want to live in this cold warehouse forever, and she was growing tired of stale bread. She twirled a thick strand of hair through her fingertips, petting the kitten with her other hand. A part of her wanted to cut off contact with Basso entirely. She wanted to stay as far away as possible from Garrett's own work and affairs. He had been generous enough to grant her a relationship, of sorts. She needed to fight her own emotions and be grateful for that. The little cat at her feet perked as his sensitive ears caught the sound of feet coming into contact with the metal floor of the warehouse.
What is it, boy?
Guinevere asked, picking up on his tension. She had always been good with animals, an unspoken kinship with nature and all of its elements. A moment later, she noticed a long shadow creeping into her domain. Initially, it caused her to jump, until she saw who it belonged to.
Garrett!
She sprung to her feet and rushed to meet his arrival, and gave him an emotional hug. Then she looked up at his proud face with glistening green eyes. He relaxed as the warmth of Guinevere's body found his. For the first time since she'd met him, the thief gave a light-hearted chuckle.
I take it you missed me?
More than you know.
She squeezed harder against the soft leather.
I came to see how you were settling in. It's been a week now.
Oh, I'm okay.
She released a tired sigh.
You are?
He asked, doubtful.
Let's just see about that then.
Garrett began to walk casually around the abandoned warehouse. The place was in a state of decay and reeked of burnt metal and rot. It was then that he realized that in his hurry to reclaim his life of solitude, he had taught her nothing about living in the city. Outside of being a thief, she was completely out of her element down here, and it showed. Guinevere had been birthed into a world of finery and servants. He seriously doubted that she could do little more than feed herself and keep clean without help. Garrett looked back over at her. It appeared that even that was now beyond her. She was faring poorly, at best. Her hair hung in greasy strands, and the outfit he had gifted to her was tattered and torn. It was also shockingly clear to him that she had lost a significant amount of weight, as the garment was even looser on her than before. The fact that he had foolishly thought her ready to live alone, that he was responsible for the state that she now found herself in, it tore like a fissure across his heart. Garrett walked to the base of the warehouse window and watched as the golden sunset scattered its vibrant hues across the city.
Guinevere,
He hesitated and squeezed his eyes shut.
You need to stay with me a while more.
What? But I can't go back now. I'm just getting started. I even made my first contact.
And who would that be?
Her name's Helena. She's really nice.
Guinevere was positively gushing with pride. Garrett felt as his every hair stood on end. He knew all about Helena. She was a desperate, shameless tramp of a woman. A ruthless thug who dealt in anything from underhanded bargains to kidnapping and murder.
Guinevere, she's not nice. Stay away from her.
What? Why?
She's a snake who eats her own. That's why. All she cares about is keeping her head above water. She'll betray you the first chance she gets.
His words were cold and bitter. He knew of Helena's treachery firsthand.
No.
Guinevere looked directly at him and cleared the tears from her delicate throat.
You don't have to protect me anymore, Garrett. I'm fine.
The thief continued to glare at her, taken aback by her defiance.
Listen to me, Guinevere. You need to be extremely cautious with the company you keep. You need to stay away from her. Do you understand me? The second that she catches wind of your past, she'll sell you out to the highest bidder.
She wouldn't do that, Garrett. I already told her all about that. And look, I'm still alright.
Guinevere defended. Garrett's eyes widened in shock. He advanced upon her and grabbed both of her wrists.
You did what?
He hissed, clenching his teeth.
Guinevere, you foolish little taffer. You're gonna get yourself killed out here.
No,
In one swift motion, the thief lifted her off the ground. Guinevere shrieked as he carried her to a large wooden crate in the middle of the room. He set her down in rough passion.
Yes you are. I'm not about to let that happen.
Guinevere gasped as his stubble-covered cheek came into contact with her neck. Garrett exhaled hot breath against her earlobe, and the young woman shuddered as his smoky voice spoke to her.
I'm not about to have your blood on my hands, or anywhere else. From this moment onwards, you're staying with me.
Guinevere's eyes began to glaze over as she felt his caress. Her hands were free, however useless they were at the moment. Garrett's kisses had completely incapacitated her. As he began to mold and toy with her breasts through the confines of her leather outfit, Guinevere began to moan with pleasure. Her thighs throbbed with desire, and her pelvis tightened.
Garrett. Oh, Garrett. I missed you so.
You don't have to miss me anymore. I'm never letting you out of my sight again.
Garrett remained motionless, Guinevere still laying atop him. He brushed away a few strands of hair from her perfect eyes, and they fluttered open like a pair of butterflies as he did so. Guinevere sighed, and began gently stroking the tuft of black hair on his defined chest.
Did you sleep well?
She asked. Garrett chuckled under his breath and grinned. He continued to recline upon the moth-eaten blanket that Guinevere called a bed, propping himself back upon his elbows. The young woman sat up as Garrett pulled her nearer to him, tracing the outline of her spine.
The fact that I slept through the night should give you your answer. I haven't done that in years.
Guinevere looked up at her thief through glassy eyes, as he stroked back some more ruby hair from her brow.
I suppose it does.
She mused. Garrett kissed her again before releasing her to stand. As he began to redress, he noticed the black kitten rubbing in and out between his long legs. He hadn't noticed the feline the night before.
Who's this then?
Oh, he's my new friend.
Guinevere began to comb her dirty hair with her fingers. Garrett smiled as the kitten looked up at him and mewed.
Does your friend have a name?
No.
How long have you had him?
About a week now. He's really useful, Garrett. He keeps the rats away and he loves to cuddle.
You mean to tell me that you've had this cat for a week and you haven't named it yet?
Garrett gave her a bemused look.
I don't believe in naming animals. They should be free to find their own identities.
Guinevere replied. Garrett shook his head and squatted to pet the kitten.
More pagan influence, I take it.
He remarked dryly, stroking the feline's ear.
I already told you I'm not a pagan.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Fine. I may share more than a few of their beliefs, okay? But that doesn't mean I'm some crazy nature cultist.
That's exactly what it means.
Guinevere frowned and crossed her arms.
Well, you're no pagan, Garrett. Why don't you name him if you really want to?
She retorted. Garrett looked upon the tiny creature with keen interest. He had always liked cats. They were sleek and silent hunters, perfectly adapted to the night. Agile and mysterious, and firm in their every intent. Just like him. He thought about a fitting name for the tiny animal as he stroked.
Pilfer.
He spoke in a low voice, never taking his eyes from those of the kitten.
Pilfer?
It's a play on words.
The thief offered, standing again.
Pilfer and fur. I combined the two.
I see.
Guinevere managed a small smile.
Pilfer. Yes, I think he'll like being called that.
Are you sure? Maybe I should have let him name himself. Wouldn't want to interfere with nature in the presence of a pagan.
He scoffed.
It's not like I cast a spell on you or anything.
Guinevere smirked. Garrett's face grew from warm to very serious.
No, you've already done that.
He replied solemnly. Guinevere rose from her blanket and wrapped her arms around his waist. Garrett glanced down at her, watching as her youthful and almost childlike face morphed into one of utter radiance and maturity at his words. Crazy nature cultist or not, she was beautiful.